Today we're going to talk about everyone's favorite topic in the world, which is slope. We're going to talk about finding slope from a graph, from a table, and from 2 points. From a graph, it's pretty straightforward. What we want to make sure we do is that we're choosing points that go through the corners of the grids. And I'm sorry this graph ended up squished on my screen. So I see, sorry that's giant. I see a point going through the corner of my grid right here. And then I can choose another one. The first one I hit that goes through a corner is there, but I'll show you we can choose other points and it will still be true. So when we're finding slope from a graph, that's where we want to think about rise over run. And rise over run has to do with my y values over my x values. So first I'm going down to go between these 2 points. I'm going down 3 and right 2. So my rise is -3 over a run of 2. If I had chosen different points, say I chose the same first point, but then went over here, I would be going down by 6 and right 4. So -6 over 4. Those are both divisible by 2, so I divide them by 2 and I get -3 over 2. So they're the same exact thing. You can also think up should be +6 and left, which would be -4, and the same thing. So whichever way makes sense to you is how you can do it, rise over run. So let's look at a couple examples. On this first one, the first thing you want to do is find a place where it goes through a corner of the box. So I see right here, and then as I go to the right, the next spot I see is here. Don't always just try to choose your intercept. So the last one we could choose an intercept, but that is not going through a corner, so we do not want to choose the x-intercept where it's crossing the x-axis right there. These will work nicely. So I'm going to go up 2 and to the right 1. So my slope is 2 over 1, which reduces to 2. And you could choose any points. I'm just going to highlight some other points that I could have chosen. Any combination of those would be totally fine. It just needs to go through the corner of the grid. So try the next one on your own. So we're looking for this to go directly through a corner. And actually, since it's so zoomed in on my screen, this is going to help. I like to go 1 unit at a time. So that's not through a corner. This isn't through a corner. This is not through a corner. Definitely not through a corner. So when I hit this point right here, that's the first time it really is going through a corner. And it might be actually easier to see on my screen than on your paper. So to do that, I'm going to go down 3 and to the right 5. So my slope is going to be -3 over +5. -3 over 5. Next we're going to talk about from a table. Now, if you can do slope formula correctly every time, bless, you do you, that's okay. However, after teaching this numerous times, I find that usually slope formula gets people in trouble. So what we want to remember is that my definition of slope is change in y, which we use the little delta, change in y over change in x. Change in y over change in x. So what we're going to do, tables are our friends. You're going to look at the table and do like we did the first unit where we said, how do you go from -1 to +1? And when we're doing slope, we're thinking about either adding or subtracting. How do you go from -1 to +1? Well, we go up by 2. how do you go from 6 to 2? You go down 4. And my slope is change in my y, which is -4, over change in my x, which is +2, and that simplifies. -4 divided by 2 is -2. Now, what if I had chosen some different points? You don't have to write this, but you can if you want. What if I did from 1 to 5? 1 to 5, I go up 4. 2 down to -6 is -8. Slope is change in y, which is -8, over change in x, which is 4. And that also reduces to -2. So it doesn't matter which 2 points in the table I choose. I just need to make sure I have the right x's and y's. So let's look at a couple tables. If you want to pause and try these on your own, that would be a great idea. So we're going to see, I just am choosing the first 2 points, but like I did on the other one, you can choose any. How do you go from 3 to 7? We go up 4. How do you go from -5 to -3? Think about number line. We're going up 2. Slope is change in y, which is 2, over change in x, which is 4. Be careful when you simplify. What goes into both of those? 2. So divide your numerator by 2, and we get 1, over divide your denominator by 2, and you get 2. 2/4 makes a half. Just be careful simplifying. The next one, we have a special situation. What's something you notice about your x values? They're all the same, right? So this, we're only going up by 0, nothing. And on the right side, we're going up by 2 again. Slope is change in y over change in x. One thing you can do to remember how to simplify when you have a 0 is no and okay. I can't do a number here. I can't do a number divided by 0. So we call that undefined. I'm using a new stylus, so this is hard to write. Undefined. 0 over a number is okay, and that just reduces to 0. So since my 0 in this problem is on the bottom, we would say that this is undefined. In the last table, how do you go from -6 to -8? We go down by 2. How do you go from 7 to 1? We go down by 6. Slope is change in y, which is -6, over change in x, which is -2. -6 divided by -2 is +3. To do it from a point, all we're going to do is plop these points into a table with the x and y. What you want to make sure, especially if you've done slope formula before, is that you're just copying and pasting these. There's no flipping around like you're used to doing with slope formula. All you're doing is copying and pasting these 2 things into your table. And then we do like we've been doing with the other problems. How do you go from -2 to +2? Add 4. How do you go from -4 to -2? You're going to add 2. And slope is change in y over change in x. And then we can reduce that to 1/2. Once again, if you can consistently, aka all the time, get this right with slope formula, that's fine, but you have to keep getting it right. I see a lot of mistakes happen with slope formula. Just saying. So let's try 2 more examples. We have 2 points, so we're going to pop them in a table. 5, 8, 10, -2. How do you go from 5 to 10? We add 5. How do you go from 8 to -2? We go down 10. Slope is change in y over change in x, which is going to be -2. And last one. Copy and paste into your table. Do not flip them. How do you go from 9 to 14? Add 5. How do you go from -6 to -6? We're just going to add 0. 0 over 5. And we need to remember no and okay. This is okay, so it's going to give me an answer of 0. That's it. Make sure to take a picture of your notes and look over them a little bit before class.